We often talk about the fact that wisdom, defined by Rambam himself, is integrated wisdom, which means that it's not simply storing lots of information. In fact, in this day and age, you don't have to store information in your own head. Your devices do it for you. Wisdom is defined in Rambam as integrated wisdom, which means that every piece of information you digest should affect your attitudes on life. The wisdom you are acquiring is attitudes. And consequently, it's going to be reflected in your behavior. A wiser human being handles life intelligently. The more wise you are, the more intelligent is the way you live. There are many who mistakenly think that the concept of the study of Mussar is to inspire us to be better people. Mussar is not about inspiration. It's about wisdom. It's about understanding things you didn't understand before. And it's really about understanding things you sort of knew, but they weren't integrated. They didn't form attitudes. They didn't change the way you think and live. A Mussar Vaad is where one sees to it that they're not merely acquiring information, but that they're really changing. That this integration process is really working. What you're working on now is actually this concept, the acquisition of wisdom. Seeing to it that in everything you encounter, eventually, this is what the goal is, every experience you have, and of course everything you read, everything you study, should make you wiser. You're studying Gemara. Yeah, the experience of reasoning, the way I always put it, learning to think the way Hashem does, that's big. But really ask yourself, what did I learn today? How does this change the way I look at life? It's a difficult thing. It's not always so easy to answer. We have to train our brain to look for wisdom in everything we learn. Once we become sensitive to that, we'll be constantly growing. Not just knowing more, but being wiser. The place to start is not Gemara. That's one of the more difficult ones. The place to start is simple things that we overlook. In Rabbi Wolbe's Aish Shur, where he welcomed the world into the Vadim that he ran over the years, he begins this process with an assignment. Read Adon Olam. Adon Olam, really it's at the beginning of the Siddur. It's meant for the beginning of davening. It's become customary in many places to sing it after davening. Only Shabbos, Yom Tov too. It's also said in Kriya Shema Alamita before going to sleep. It's one of the better known pieces in the Siddur. Traditionally, we sing it with our little kids before they go to sleep. Then they sing it in the morning when they go to their gan as part of their basic prayers, their tefillah. The first assignment is read it. Read it. What has it taught you? Have you found something here that you never realized? Or that you never really thought about? Or that you thought about and realized, but it never became part of you? It's not part of your decision-making process. It's not reflected in your behavior. Read Adon Olam and ask yourself, what did this teach me? I have to tell you personally, because of my ancestry, I found myself as a kid davening in our local shtibel. It wasn't a particular chassidus, it was lots of chassidim together. And people knew how to daven. Everything was with lots of heart. The singing was not a concert. You can feel when people were singing that they were expressing things that couldn't be expressed in words. Most of them were survivors. So I grew up enjoying davening. It wasn't a meaningless ritual. Certainly wasn't a burden. I went to yeshiva. The truth is that it wasn't I was not sent through the Hasidic yeshiva system. And I felt that my davening was perhaps on a higher level than the people around me. I had the privilege of coming to Eretz Yisrael and studied at the Mir. And the way we were taught to learn in the Mir was something different than what I was used to before. Yeah, we were used to thinking in depth, and it was exciting. In the Mir, we were taught to read carefully. And when you read carefully, the Gemara, the Rashi, the Tosfos, they come alive in a way that you could easily have missed it. When you sort of knew what they said, and of course, had all sorts of deep and high-level intellectual discussions about what they probably said. But in the Mir, we were taught to read with precision. And there was so much profundity in reading the words and getting them straight. Once I caught on, I decided to revisit davening. Read it again, and carefully. And things changed so much. I found that there was so much profundity in davening that I had been totally unaware of. Davening, things we said daily, or sometimes parts of it 3 times a day. The Shemona Esrei. Of course, it naturally changed what davening was. It was not only an expression of the heart, but it was a depth of understanding that then was connected to feelings. What Rav Wolbe is doing here is telling us to start studying, like even simple parts of the tefillah. He's starting with Adon Olam. Just read it, but read it well. We're not talking about gematria, numerical value of the different letters. We're talking about reading what it says. Reading what it says, and what does this teach me? What attitudes do these words now develop within me? How will I now approach my daily life? Now that I'm aware of something so basic that perhaps I've been overlooking. Besides, why did they put it here? What am I supposed to be doing with this? When I recite it, what am I doing with it? The most basic realization is that it's not some kind of arbitrary ritual, but in reciting it or singing it, I'm expressing a deep appreciation for these words. My expression itself is an experience. See, this is the beginning of a process that is going to take us through davening, through daily brachas, through what we learn. In what way am I wiser? What's the takeaway? And of course, life. Making this your way of living. Asking yourself, in every experience, looking for what can I learn from this experience? Every person you get to know. Human beings are unique and fascinating. Every one of us was created by the Creator, deliberately different from one another. Everyone I know has something to teach me. It's not just what he stands for, what he says, but who he is. Ultimately, all of our lives' experiences should be part of this process of becoming wise. Now, the end product right now sounds overwhelming. But you got to start somewhere. How far are we going to get? As always, you may have to live a few hundred years to really get to the end of this. But wherever we end up in the process is going to be far better than where we start. And if you're not going to do this in yeshiva, where are you going to do this? The yeshiva is where you learn to acquire wisdom. So understand, it's not just getting lots of information. Life is about becoming wiser. We have to learn to become wiser from everything we encounter, beginning with divine wisdom. So study your Adon Olam. To whatever degree you can appreciate the words. If you're at a point that you need a translation, understand that this has got to be temporary. You can't really feel the words when someone else is doing the translating for you. But at least get what you can. Preferably get the Hebrew and understand it. And ask yourself, in what way am I wiser now that I've studied this? What has this taught me about life, about myself, about the Creator? What attitudes within me are going to change? Or perhaps attitudes about things I never thought about before? This is really where it starts. If our antennas are not out there to catch wisdom in everything we experience and everything we study, how are we going to acquire wisdom? We may acquire a lot of information, but we will not acquire wisdom. And the more wisdom we acquire, the closer we will come to understanding the unity of Hashem. The utmost a human being can understand of Hashem's existence on this world. This is the process of life. This is what life is about for the Jew. Coming closer to Hashem, being like Hashem, all of these phrases we use. The methodology is wisdom and the formation of correct attitudes. So we have to get into the process of deriving wisdom from everything we study and everything we experience. I am sure you're going to enjoy this. I'm sure you're going to feel so much bigger and greater. And when you do it enough times, you're going to realize what studying in yeshiva is supposed to do for you. As this goes on, I am looking forward to find myself in the company of so many wiser people. And I'm sure you're going to feel it in the atmosphere. Because our interactions are going to be different. Our goals are going to be more accurate. And then our dedication as well. So let's all grow together.